All right, form up, soldiers. You've all come here for one reason. We dragged you out of your homes, away from your families, and away from your thriving TikTok career that's gonna pop off any second now to learn how to become commanders, elite warriors, tacticians who master the battlefield and control their teammates and their enemies' positioning with ease. Now, I can't promise you out here at this conveniently located Roman recreation tent that we will become the best commanders for every situation, but that's not what strategy is. Soldier strategy is about doing what's practical and doing enough to win a variety of conflicts. So, here at Practical Pathfinder, let's learn how to build a commander and what you can expect to find from one as you play. Hey, I'm Lord Generic, and it's time to command. Now, as always at Practical Pathfinder, I'm going to assume you know a basic level of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, because we don't got time for that. We're here for Commander, so let's get into it. As for Commander, what is this class? What can you expect? Well, it's got moderate HP at 8 hit points a level, but heavy armor keeps it survivable. So it's a flexible character that specializes in giving your team extra actions, particularly movement actions and sometimes extra strikes, extra physical attacks. There's some synergy for ranged teammates, some synergy for casters like wizards and clerics, but it specializes in having a lot of powerful melee allies to take advantage of. Though, if you have a lot of casters, we'll go over some options and some viable commander builds for that as well. Most powerful abilities, though, are the ability to turn your team's reactions into new actions on your turn, particularly movement. Good commanders keep their team in ideal positions, and in any strategy and tactics game, such as Pathfinder, being in the right position is half the battle. Now, when it comes to Commander, they are an intelligence-focused class. This means you can specialize in either strength or dexterity if you want to go melee commander or ranged commander, but it's going to be very tough, if not practically impossible, to do both. You really gotta pick. That high intelligence ain't bad though. Gives you a lot of skills, which helps you fill in gaps for your party, and it gives you access to intelligence-based archetypes. In my opinion, some of the strongest Magus archetype, Investigator, Alchemist, incredible picks, a lot of power in there for those who want them. And Commander themselves, they're really best for large groups. While you can provide a massive to hit bonus at level 12 for any teammate and smaller but still good bonuses before that, you really want a lot of party members. That can also mean animal companions. Pretty much the more bodies you have on the field, the better Commander becomes. But the inverse is true. If you have a small party, if you have 2 players, 3 players, Commander's ability to move the whole party is just not as valuable. You're probably better off rocking a fighter or just a champion at that point. And commanders themselves have low personal damage. You can build for strength, you can swing a 2-handed weapon and do fine as a commander. It's a pretty fun way to play, but you're never going to top the damage charts. You can also be decently survivable with a shield, but you'll never be the tankiest kind of character. You are okay at combat, but you specialize it in bringing teammates who become even better at what they do. But before we address any kinds of builds for Commander, before you decide I want to use a greatsword or a shield or a bow, we have to decide what's your party. Commander, more than almost any class, requires you to talk to your friends, talk to your party, and see what are they playing, what roles are filled. Commander is an excellent flex character. They can make a build to fit just about any kind of hole, but you need to know what you're bringing. This will determine both your character, your build, and the tactics you bring, because Commander's specialty is, while they have fairly weak class feats and okay body, is their special tactics abilities they can use every turn to give their party extra actions and effects. With that said, let's start with your Probably the funniest way to play Commander, the Oops All Melee Party. An Oops All Melee Party is one that, well, everyone is here to beat the enemy into the dirt, and they're going to love a Commander. This kind of party, you could run a bow yourself. It's an excellent way to support your team as Commander. But, I mean, you could also just grab a big sword and get in there with the team, right? It's up to you. Either way, try some tactics like tactical takedown to approach the enemy and knock them prone for your team to beat them down. Demoralizing charge, again, you can charge an enemy, hit them, get free strikes off, and debuffs. That's Commander's specialty. Pop, drop, and lock. I love the tactics names, can I just say? At level 15, and that will give all 3 of your melee teammates opportunities to grab, trip, and strike your opponent. And Valkyrie's Charge, sensing a theme, Commander excels at helping melee allies rush into combat and get extra hits. Next, we have a great choice with your classic party, 2 melees, a caster, and you. This is a pretty solid way to play Commander, a little light on the magic, but as an intelligence character, you can bring the trick magic item feat and kind of make up for that utility using scrolls, which is a nice option of being intelligence, right? Here, you want to play a ranged commander, probably, because your team already has 2 frontliners. You can help round out that balance, and being a ranged commander means you can spend 1 action shooting your bow every turn, and then 2 actions throwing out powerful commands to buff your team. This is a very good defensive core, because you can use Plant Banner to give your team temporary HP every round automatically, as long as they stay near you. Well, it's like 40 feet around you, so still a reasonable distance. And you can spend 2 actions to give your team an extra strike, extra movement, extra debuffs for the enemy. Great things to go with your bow, and it's a pretty strong general team. In this case, you might want to try the tactics Gather to Me to move your party around, Slip and Sizzle to be able to have your friend trip an enemy, and then your caster gets an extra spell as a reaction. Yeah, they'll be slowed 1, but this is effectively the 10th level feat, Quicken Spell, as a spammable commander ability. That's insanely good. Try Roaring Charge to give your frontliners the way to get in better at level 15. At level 19, Bloody Guillotine. The level 19 feats are very flexible. You can only use them once a day each, so you tend to swap between these. Bloody Guillotine is a nice way to finish off a weak enemy at the start of fight and get a really good opener. Now, as we have parties with more and more backline characters, more wizards, more casters, more archers, we want Commander to move to the front line and become more defensive in our build. So we have the other classic party, 1 melee character, you, and 2 backliners, be they casters, archers, people who aren't getting up in the fight. You're going to want to help that 1 melee character and probably bring a shield yourself. Or if they themselves are a good defender, like a guardian or a champion or a monk, maybe you want to bring a 2-handed weapon and help carry a little bit more damage on your big swings. This is going to be a more protection-focused commander for the most part. I would encourage bringing shields, bucklers, or the shield cantrip on everyone in the party. You can use the shields up tactic to make everyone in the group raise their shield, and this helps form a really powerful defensive core available from level 1. And remember, the shield cantrip works real easy for people using 2-handed weapons or any caster. You use, say, an ancestry pick or an ancestry feat to pick up the shield cantrip. It's not a big investment, but it's a fantastic buff in survivability. For this kind of team, athletics is going to be really good. Like we said, Commander doesn't have big damage bonuses. Your strikes aren't that great. But if you build for strength and bring a shield in one hand, you can grab enemies, you can trip enemies, you can control them, and really put out a lot of influence while your team brings the pain. You like doing damage as well. Bring, say, a Khopesh in your other hand. It's a D8 sword with the trip trait. This lets you alternate between solid damage strikes and tripping enemies when you want to control them. Now, for tactics for this kind of traditional team, no, I totally didn't splice this in later. What are you talking about? Because I didn't forget. Anyways, for tactics to bring with the team, shields up is a solid one if you all bring that shield cantrip or those shields. If no one brings that, that's fine. We can still use other powerful tactics like Gather to Me, like Tactical Takedown. This lets you approach the enemy along with your frontliner and maybe get a trip off them. Well, it's technically not a trip, but either way, they might fall prone. That's a great debuff and a gap closer. Mirrored Wall, Valkyrie's Charge, these are pretty good picks who, again, keep the team alive. You're buying time for your more offensive-minded teammates to get the kill. Slip and Sizzle is a great pick for anyone with casters, by the way. At level 7, a teammate trips an enemy, including yourself. You can trip that enemy, so hey, get in there. And your caster gets a free spell. That's insanely good. Even if it's just a cantrip, the actual value is pretty high. And last, if you are the only frontline, if everyone in your party are backliners, they're all casters, they're all ranged characters, no one will get into the fight with you. Well, you can't play an archer. Because if everyone's the back line, then everyone's the front line, because the enemies are going to crash into you no matter what. So now it's up to you to hold the enemy back. How do we do that? The answer is Commander is amazing at enabling kiting teams. You can play a skirmisher style using your Gather to Me tactic at level 1 to let the whole team move within your aura up to 30 feet, including yourself. So this is a kind of team where you're going to need a shield because you need that extra defense to survive. You are not that tanky at 8 HP a level. You're going to want the extra bulk, but you can buy time, you can trip enemies, you can raise your shield, and you can use Gather to Me to pull the whole team, your allies included, you included, away from the enemy on your turn. This lets your ranged allies spend more actions putting out pain and doing their thing of ending the fight while you pull the team back to better and better positions and keep the enemy wasting actions to approach your teammates. That's how we win with Commander. It's about small advantages we snowball together. Try some tactics like Gather to Me at level 1 to move everyone, Stupefying Raid and Buckle Cut Blitz at level 7. Pick whichever one sounds better for your team. Buckle Cut Blitz lets you apply Clumsy One, whereas Stupefying Raid applies, well, Stupefied One. Both pretty good debuffs. Casters will love you because you use these to tell your casters to run away from enemies, and as they run past those enemies, they get some nice debuffs for their spells. Ready Aim Fire and Executioner's Volley are fantastic picks if you have ranged characters, right? And if this is your team, well, time to pick those up if they apply. And one thing with Commander you gotta keep in mind, is party initiative. When you're a commander, you're going to get real familiar with delay initiative, because if you're positioning the team, well, they don't want to take their turn until they're in position, right? So that you can move them and then they can spend 2 of their actions laying out the pain and then 1 action to retreat to safety or raise their defense or, what have you. And you can move like a smooth machine. Likewise, if you have a debuff focused commander, well, your party wants to wait until you get a debuff off and move them into position. And if you have a shield focused commander, it suddenly flips. A shield focused commander, you want your party to move before you because you want to raise their shields, and then the enemies go and spend their turns hitting your party while their shields are up. If your party moves right after you do, they'll drop their shield at the start of their turn, and your tactics, your strategies will be useless. So remember to talk to your friends, talk to your party, and delay initiative. It is so vital for good commander play because a commander, a positioning, a timely flank is all about timing. So that's kind of the basics of how Commander works, right? With that said, let's actually build one, right? If you want to play Commander, how do you get started? What do you pick? There's too many options. So let's get this narrowed down. Here's some great picks. Commanders want high intelligence and preferably some kind of combat stat. You gotta pick between strength or dex. You need one of them. Because you get heavy armor, you can use strength and ignore dex completely and still be viable. But bow commanders are pretty darn good. They can spend a lot more time focusing on issuing orders and using tactics while still striking and getting decent damage, and a lot less time moving around. So if you want a bow commander, a ranged commander, try picking elf. It's a very classic, it's a classic elf pick. High intelligence, high dexterity. You're going to be fragile, you'll have a lower constitution, but that's okay if you think about it. You're a ranged character. You don't need as much health as a melee one. So elf can pick int, dex, and strength and get that 14 strength, a little more damage on your bow, and more importantly, the option to wear heavy armor, as we'll discuss later. That's really nice on a dex character. You want to go big melee, you want to get in there, consider Colo, also known as gnolls, they're hyena people. You get high strength, high intelligence, kind of mediocre wisdom, but that's fine. You can later on use your intelligence to roll initiative thanks to your warfare lore skill. Fantastic. And it let me, you still want wisdom, but you don't need it as bad. Colos have great two-handed weapons unique to them. So if you want two-handed commander, I would recommend this one. And you get an option to have grapple on bite. So once again, if you want some kind of tanky shield commander, well, now you can get in there and grab enemies by biting them and still use great weapons. Additionally, one of Commander's biggest weaknesses is they have a bad fortitude save. That's their worst save. And, bad fortitude really sucks for anyone on the front line. Poisons will ruin you. Colos can get a bonus to poisons and diseases, and that's really going to help you. Hobgoblins are a great pick as well. Constitution and intelligence, hard to go wrong. And for frightened team builds, teams who want to use the frightened condition a lot and synergize around that, or just keep the debuff going, Hobgoblins are a great melee pick. You can use the Remorseless Lash feat to make it so that when you strike enemies and hit them, their frightened condition can't go below 1. That's such a good passive. Combine it with Demoralizing Charge at level 7. Your boys can rush in, deliver big hits, get extra frightened, and now the frightened won't go away as you land your own hits. Oh, what's not to love, right? Shock tactics are for what Hobgoblins are built. And before we get to equipment, there is something very interesting about Commander I would like to address. Commanders, you would expect, like a lot of more fragile characters, would love reach weapons. Two-handed polearms, D10 damage, reach keeps them a little safer, makes them more threatening. I think, and I've found, that Commander, surprisingly, is very synergistic with close combat weapons, doing more damage and abandoning reach. And this is because a lot of tactics specify adjacent. It's not, hey, approach an enemy and get within reach. It's approach an enemy, and if you are adjacent, if you're right next to them, get some kind of benefit. So with that in mind, commanders are actually way better with close combat weapons and with teammates who use close combat weapons than with teammates who use reach weapons like polearms. It's a small micro synergy, but it might be the one you want, Might be that extra benefit. And hey, I'll take an excuse to use a great axe or a great sword. They're such cool weapons. But reach is normally so good it's hard to give up. I mean, but great swords though. Ooh, shiny. Now with that said, the stats and equipment you want on your commander, it depends if you want melee or range. Of course, any melee commander, you want maximum intelligence at +4. Pump that strength up to +3 so that you can actually wear your armor and land big hits, and then dump what you can into constitution and wisdom to get those saving throws and defenses a little better. As for your gear, you're going to want to wear chain. That's the medium armor chain, plus an armored skirt. Armored skirts are a funny little item that's super easy to miss. They let you turn medium armor into heavy armor with +1 armor class, one higher item bonus to AC, but the dexterity bonus goes down by 1 because you're full strength. You don't care about dex bonus. The armored skirt makes your chain armor a little better until you can afford full plate. Now, it makes your armor noisy, so you have bad stealth, but hey, chain armor's already noisy. Who cares? After that, you could pick between your sturdy shield and your melee weapon. I recommend a Kopesh because I think they're neat and the trip trait is great. Or you could take a two-hand melee weapon, depending if you want a little more bulk or a little more damage. Again, as we mentioned, the two-hand melee weapon, I would recommend a great sword or a great axe or a maul over a reach weapon because your tactics benefit from being adjacent to enemies. You want to get up in their face. And if you are going with the two-hand weapon, you're still a little fragile. Try to get the shield cantrip either from your ancestries or from an archetype. You are intelligence based and it's very easy to pick up any kind of caster archetype, get a nice shield cantrip to keep yourself safe. If flying and ranged enemies are a problem, being melee does suck, so bring some bolas so you can do ranged trip attempts with your athletics, knock those flyers out of the air or just harass melee, and make some use of the new banner magical items. Since you're going to carry a banner on you anyways as a nerdy old commander, consider bringing a blazing banner or a knave's standard. They start at level 4, they're like 100 gold, they're not that expensive, and they give you some extra damage on critical hits for the whole party within your commander aura, so within 30 feet of you. Hey, passive damage, what's not to love? And for our archers, our lazy lords, our ranged tacticians, well, we're going to want some dexterity. So in this case, we'll start with a chain shirt instead of chain armor. So you're bringing the light armor variant of chain to use that +3 dexterity. Stats wise, you want maximum intelligence once again, but +3 dexterity instead of +3 strength. Now, if you can get +2 strength, probably by level 5. Realistically, you're going to start with +1 strength at level 1 and get +2 strength at level 5 when you get your stat bump. So try to get that so that you can wear half plate with an armored skirt. While armored skirts make medium armor into heavy, armored skirts also make half plate, still heavy armor, but lighter. It reduces the armor bonus, but reduces the strength requirement while raising the dex buff. So if you have +2 strength with armored skirt, half plate, you get that full heavy armor defense while still being able to make use of your dex. That's really good. That extra armor class helps bring up your low HP. You're going to have to give up a little bit of constitution or wisdom to make this work build-wise, but I think it's worth it. With that said, you are playing an archer here. You're a ranged character. Bring that short bow. Take the archer archetype. You could take a horn bow if you really love having a really good bow. But if you get +2 strength, you could also just go with a composite short bow and get that extra damage. Most builds are going to want a composite short bow. You also want something if they do close to melee, so bring a finesse weapon such as a rapier. I'd recommend bringing a buckler in your offhand, a great way to up your armor class as an archer. And if you ever use the shields up tactic, if you have a buckler, this still works for archers. Just do it at the end of your turn and you can keep your shield up while buffing all your friends' defense via their shields or their shield cantrips or their bucklers. Great defense makes a good team. Got to keep the wall strong. And of course, you can still bring a magic banner instead of a normal one. Blazing Banner and Knave Standard are the ones I'd recommend. They just give you that nice little extra bonus damage. Even on Plant Banner builds, which are a more defensive way to build your archer, you may as well pick up a magic one and get that extra benefit, right? After all, if you want your friends to stay near you and actually, be in range of your tactics, the best way, besides asking nicely, is to tell them, hey, as long as you're near me, you get bonus damage on crit. And they'll be like, ooh, bonus damage. I do like that. It's not manipulation. It's about rewarding them psychologically. Yeah, let's go for that. Now for general feats, it's pretty normal. Improved initiative is great. You're a commander. Like we mentioned, you want to be able to get your initiative order correct for the team. And if you go first, you might end up delaying your turn, but that's okay because you'll end up in the correct formation order of your team's initiative that y'all have discussed and you want to make your tactics really pop. Toughness is amazing for any low HP class and just good in general. Fleet is, hey, more move speed. You wear heavy armor, you're going to want some extra move speed to make up for it if you hit level 17. You're going to want Canny Acumen for Fortitude. Go up to Master Saves. Your Fortitude is really bad and you will be feeling that pain. As for your last one, or if you get extra general feats, I don't know, pick what you want. Maybe Die Hard? And while you are an intelligence character, you can bring a lot of skills as a result. So be sure to talk to your party, bring trained skills into things they lack. You can make up for that. You're not a skill character like a true rogue or investigator, but you can fill in those gaps and bring that extra utility. That said, you have a lot of picks depending on your build. Strength commanders should definitely pump their athletics, giving you great battlefield control. Melee commanders and shield commanders in particular are uniquely good at medicine. They have a feat tree for using medicine with a shield. It's really nice. Let's use your intelligence on medicine. It's pretty great. So if you're a shield build, consider that. Both medicine and crafting are good pickups for shield users. Dex commanders, however, want stealth and thievery as their picks because, hey, you have a high dex. If no one on your team is running these skills, you should run them so that someone's got to disarm traps. So if it's you, so be it. And last, you have a high intelligence, society, arcana, occultism, the classic intelligence knowledge skills. You may as well become at least trained in them. Use that intelligence, recall knowledge, know things in role playing, in the field, in the adventure. This game isn't just combat, right? It's good in combat, it's nice, but a character who's smart and can do things and know things is something you want as a player. It's just nice to have. And as you'd expect from that many skills, the skill feats are kind of a mess. There's only one that truly matters here, and it's Trick Magic Item. I would get this as soon as you can most of the time, unless you're going for a medicine build, in which case you might want to get the medicine skills first. But otherwise, Trick Magic Item is huge. You have a high intelligence. Pick this up. This lets you use your arcana, your society, even your religion and nature if you level those, to cast spells from scrolls and wands. Takes an extra action. Not great in combat, but amazing out of combat. Extra buff spells, Ants Hall, Tailwind, making staircases, making bridges, Wall of Stone. Actually, can't do Wall of Stone. It's too many actions. But utility spells are huge, and Trick Magic Item makes you amazing at using those while still having the physical power and the tactics of a commander. That's really nice. You're an intelligent character, so I consider this practically built into your power budget. You're going to want it. And beyond that, it's all based on stats, right? If you're athletics, take athletics skills like Titan Wrestler and Cloud Jump. If you're Dex, take the stealth skills like Quiet Allies and Legendary Sneak. All right, so it's feats, the big part of the build, right? Here's the thing with Commander. Feats aren't that important. No, seriously. They're kind of meh. Commander's feats, there's a few at the low levels that can be build defining, but otherwise, you don't really need them. You can use archetypes on Commander and be totally fine. Much like spellcasters, most of your power budget is in the tactics that you're going to get anyways. With that said, I know you still want feats, so we have a few options, right? We have a few options. First off, for any commander, if you don't know what to pick, if nothing else appeals, take combat assessment. You can strike enemies and recall knowledge at the same time. Your casters will love you. You already have warfare lore and can recall knowledge on enemies using warfare lore, so it's got a lot of natural synergy for a commander. You're a medic commander. If you want to use a shield, consider officer's medical training. This allows you to use medicine and medicine skills using intelligence. That's really good. Like, really, really good. I think only alchemists can get something equivalent to that. And hey, it's just good. And last, if you don't want that standard melee commander kit, we have Plant Banner. This is mostly for ranged commanders, in my opinion. This allows you to put your banner on a physical tile in this field. You can put it down and it gets a bigger aura. And more importantly, starts pulsing out temporary hit points to all your teammates. It's a small little shield that hits every round and really adds up. It provides a lot of ablative defense, extra HP. That's what this does, practically speaking, is it gives a lot of wiggle room for you to take a bad hit, or for the rolls on the enemies to turn unfortunate and they get extra damage, extra crits. Plant Banner helps give you a little more breathing room. But because it makes your banner stationary and vulnerable to being grabbed, you don't want to do it near enemies. Use this on range commander, bow commander. Main things to watch out for this and the next feat are, uniquely, if you use Plant Banner, you cannot use anything with the Brandish trait. The Brandish trait requires you to be holding the flag, and any tactics with Brandish don't work on you. So basically, Plant Banner is really, really strong and really good on range characters. But it comes at the cost of locking you out of the Brandish skills, feats, and tactics. The trade-off. I think it's worth it, but it is a trade-off, and it's valid to play an archer who still has the banner on their back so that you can use Brandish skills. Oh, tactics and feats. I keep saying skills. And last, Commander's Companion. This is your animal companion option. Really good on Commander. Your companion gets an extra reaction for your tactics specifically. And that's nice because you can only give one free reaction unless you invest feats in the mid and late game. But you don't really want your team to have that many reactions so that you can consume them for your tactics. Commander's Companion is great because, hey, you get an extra animal companion, you can move around and then command and get extra damage out. Great for the early game, solid for mobility in the mid game, and decent if you need another body. If you're low on frontliners, like you have the 3 casters and then you kind of party, Commander's Companion might be what you want just to get another body on the field. Someone who can take a couple hits and buy a little time. All that said, level 1 feats, there's some decent ones. Level 2 feats are where it's at. You can take any archetypes. Commander's great with archetypes. I recommend doing it at level 4 because the level 2 feats are so fire, you're gonna want at least one of them. You got your standard 2 picks that are good no matter what. Tactical Expansion and Adaptive Stratagem. Tactical Expansion lets you add 2 extra tactics. You can learn more tactics and then swap them out as you need out of combat. Adaptive Stratagem allows you, when combat starts, to look through your known tactics and say, oh, we're fighting in the water. Swap something I don't want out for naval training so we can swim. That's an insane value gain, but it depends on how often you actually need to swap. For attackers, Setup Strike and Guiding Shot is insane and leads to one of the strongest feat trees I have seen in Pathfinder. Super, super cracked. Setup Strike is for your melee builds. It allows you to hit an enemy and provide off guard for your friends. That's nice, you know, for the next hit. That's really good. Rogues will love you. Pretty much anyone's going to like you. Off guard is nice, but it's easy to get off guard through other means. Guiding Shot is for your archer builds, your ranged attackers, and is frankly insane. It provides a +1 circumstance bonus to the next creature to attack this target other than you. So your next buddy who swings, a bonus to hit. Circumstance bonuses are basically unheard of outside of the aid action. This lets you strike and effectively aid at the same time. If you want to be a shield commander or just take hits for your friends when you really need it, Defensive Swamp is an kind of crazy reaction. I don't know why it's on Commander, but not on Guardian. To be frank, it's bizarre to me. But if you and an adjacent ally are targeted by an attack, well, you or an ally, you as a reaction, you can both swap positions, and now you will take the hit meant for your ally, or the ally takes the hit meant for you. This is crazy. You will feel like a tactical genius using this because it lets you spread damage. If you say, oh, my buddy's going to go down, or I'm going to go down to this hit, I can't handle another hit. Well, you don't want to get down. That's a huge loss in firepower. Defensive Swamp, that damage goes on to someone else. A-okay, the team is ready. Crazy good. Like I said, these level 2 feats are wild, right? Level 4, we're going to start getting more specific in our feats. So you can really just start archetyping if you want. Commander's so good with that because so much power is in their tactics. With that said, if you're a melee commander, definitely consider Unsteadying Strike. It is a flourish attack. You can only use one flourish action a turn, remember. And this means you won't really want Setup Strike if you're using this one. But it lets you make a melee strike, and if successful, your enemy takes a -2 penalty to athletics actions targeting them. That's really crazy. Well, every athletic action besides trip. That's wildly good because a -2 penalty to their grapple defense, super rare. That's an incredibly rare ability, and if you have a grapple focused ally like a monk or a grapple barbarian, they'll love you. Oh, you're gonna get along real swimming. Super good. If you're a medic commander with a shield, consider Shielded Recovery, which will allow you to use your shielded hand to treat wounds and use battle medicine. And more importantly, when you battle medicine an ally, your ally will gain a +1 bonus to armor class and reflex saves until your next turn, or if they leave being adjacent to you. Super good. Your battle medicine, it's easy to do. You can now use a shield and a weapon and still heal people. And most importantly, you get a nice defense buff. I mean, yeah, we have lay on hands at home. And last, if you do run into a lot of frighten effects, if you constantly get hit by fear spells, screeching dragons, owl bears, anything that provides frighten effects, fairly common from a lot of monsters in my experience, Banner's Inspiration is a pretty good pick. Remember, this is brandish. You cannot use it if you're going Animal Companion or Plant Banner builds, but this allows you to spend one action and reduce all your buddies' frightened condition and attempt new saving throws against mental effects. I mean, that's pretty powerful. Notably, at rank 4, level 4, you're only really reducing frightened 1 because debuffs are fairly small. When you have this feat at high levels, I would say level 9 and above, being able to make new saving throws against mental effects is huge because mental effects at high levels are like dominate, kill your buddies. Like crazy powerful effects, or confusion where you just start swinging at anyone around you. It's really nice to have at higher levels. It's okay at level 4. An unusual effect. All right, and let me say something. That's the end of like commander feats you really need. The rest are solid. Now, I'm gonna call out Reactive Strike. This is one of the only martials where I think Reactive Strike is not that good. Normally, Reactive Strike is insane. You want it on pretty much everyone, right? I mean, you can swing at people and they run away from you, or they cast a spell. That's super good. Well, commanders want to use their reactions on tactics. So if you're using up your reactions on tactics, and if your team are using their reactions on your tactics, Reactive Strike eats that reaction, and it's a little awkward. You can give yourself a free reaction, so you can still use Reactive Strike, but that implies no one else on your party, no one else on the team wants that free reaction. No one else has a better reaction for you to give and make sure you don't use up. So Reactive Strike is only really good if no one else in the party uses reaction. I mean, you don't want a lot of reactions on the commander party, but that feels specific. You know, it's not specific and good for every build. Efficient preparation. You can prepare one more tactic. You can just have one more thing ready to use. Heck yeah. 10 out of 10. Take this most of the time, unless you're a banner or animal companion build. If you're a plant banner build, take Claim the Field. This lets you put your banner on a thrown weapon and then throw that weapon when you plant it. That's cute. It lets you move the banner, get a little better area on it, or maybe put it up somewhere where enemies can't reach it. But the actual reason to use this, the real reason, is any enemy who attempts to damage or remove your banner must succeed at a will save against your class DC or fail. On a crit fail, if they roll a nat 1, they're fleeing for 1 round. If the banner gets grabbed, your party becomes frightened, and you can't use your tactics. That's no good. Claim the Field protects your planted banner. A small passive protection, but hey, that might swing the battle and stop something terrible from happening. That's really nice. Is it as good as having another tactic? It's up to you. You don't need this, right? You don't need this, but I think it's really good. I think if you're going plant banner, this will be a lot of fun to use, and I think that's important, right? If you're a companion user, if you have the animal companion, you take battle test and companion. This makes your companion stronger. They're a mature animal. You're gonna want to do that. Level 8, the feats are kind of thin. I'm not gonna lie. If you are plant banner or animal companion, you can't use rallying banner because it's brandish. If you're not, you should take rallying banner. Gives you a little one action team-wide heal. It's not a lot of healing, but it is a team-wide heal. And in my experience, the best way to do healing, the most powerful way, is if everyone in the party brings a small way to heal. Oh, you've got it made. You've got it made. Otherwise, take, I guess, officer's education. Everything is brandish, so this is really your only option if you don't use an archetype. It's funny. It gives you skills, gives you expert in a skill, gives you a language and a general feat. It's not bad. It's actually, it makes you very flexible in role playing. If you like role playing, if you need a lot more skills, a lot more languages, talking abilities, officer's education is a great pick. And, you know, not the most powerful, but it is very unique. And not many classes get this option, so sometimes that's what you need. All right, level 10. This is when the feats get good again. This is when you're about to see something at 10 and 12 that's wild, right? So y'all who took Setup Strike, y'all who took Guiding Shot like I recommended, because no, seriously, go back at level 2, go take those, or go to use a higher level feat and go take one of those. I know it's level 2, go get it, so that you can use Targeting Strike. Targeting Strike, when you use your Guiding Shot or your Setup Strike, the next creature to attack also gets additional precision damage equal to your int, your intelligence. At this point, it should be +5 at level 10. +5 damage for a teammate on an attack that buffs them already? Talk about value. And now I know you're thinking, oh, generic only +5? Okay, +5 is pretty good. It's going to get even better at 12. You're going to pop off at how absurd it is. Trust. With that said, If you're not using one of these two, if you're an animal companion user, you take Battle Hardened Companion, your companion gets better. Nothing else to say. And otherwise, you could take Drilled Reflexes. This lets you give 2 allies an extra reaction for the purpose of your tactics. That way they can use more reactions themselves. But there's a reason I don't necessarily like this. In my opinion, if you're using a party with a commander, then your party should be used to not using their reactions because the commander uses their reaction. So this is only useful if 2 of your party members need to use their reactions all the time, and therefore you need to give them the Drilled Reflexes so that they don't lose their kit from you using your kit. That's going to feel really bad in your party until you hit level 10. And, you know, talk to your buddies. Make sure people are planning on using tons of reactions. If you're a commander, you can only really afford one person using a lot of reactions unless you start a campaign at level 10. It's going to feel bad otherwise. And we don't want, we don't want you guys feeling bad. We want you guys feeling effective, well drilled, and, a practical build takes into account what your friends will have fun with. All right, level 12. Y'all wondering, Generic, Lord Generic, why do you keep saying Commander is busted at level 12? Well, feast your eyes on Fortunate Blow, my friends. Fortunate Blow, when you use a guiding shot or a setup strike, not only do you get the +1 to hit from guiding shot or a +2 on a crit, not only do you get the off guard from setup strike, not only do you get that bonus 5 damage from your level 10 feat of targeting strike, you also give the next creature who attacks this target True Strike. They get Sure Strike. They get to roll twice on their attack roll and take the higher result. Holy crap. This is resourceless. You get to use this every turn. This is why I think Range Commander is super good. Because you just fire off a Fortunate Blow, cause a rainbow of buff effects, bonus to hit, bonus damage, and 2 attack rolls on your buddy. Pair this up with a Barbarian, pair this up with a Magus or a Rogue. You're going to be landing, or a Swashbuckler. You're going to be landing crit after crit after crit. And it's going to be crazy. And this isn't even taking into account tactics, right? Super good. It's insane. Melee can still do it. Fortunate Blow melee is still really good. I have seen it. It's quite powerful, but it's just more awkward. As a melee character, you have to move more. You have to pay attention to your own defenses more. It's hard to spam Fortunate Blow every single round while still using tactics. Range characters do not care. They will fire this bad boy. You're not using Fortunate Blow, like, all right, I guess, and you're in melee. You could take Reactive Interference. It's pretty cool. It lets you interrupt enemy reactions or have a chance to interrupt reactions. This can be great versus bosses. This can be great to protect your team. It's not bad, but it does require you to really get into the fight. So only bring this if you're a commander who's always stuck in melee and like right next to your enemies. Kind of risky. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't blame you if from level 14 on, you just skip ahead to the tactics at the end of the video. The next section, you could just skip straight to that. All the other feats from 14 on are like, fine. You can use them. If you pick none of these, you're okay. You've got the power spikes. Your power comes from your tactics now. These feats are like, fine. With that said, Quickening Banner, pretty good. Once per 10 minutes, so once a fight, practically speaking. You spend 1 action, everyone in your banner gets quickened. They get haste for 1 round. What is this? This is a better Loose Times Arrow, which is one of the best 2nd rank spells to reposition the team. This lets you do it for 1 action instead of 2. That's not bad. If you give everyone an extra strike from quickening them and use your commander tactics to move them with Gather to Me, move them into the enemy, or, Demoralizing Charge, move them into the enemy. Hey, that's use extra attacks. It's good. It's just not incredible by level 14. And if you are going medic, if you are the healing shield commander, you may as well take Desperate Resuscitation. This allows you to bring the dead back to life if they die, no more than 3 rounds. Nice insurance for your buds. Hard to hate on it. It's just a question of, do you play a campaign or your friends die a lot? At high levels, it's more likely than you'd think. Level 16, completely bizarre. There's only like 2 feats, and they're hard locked to previous other feats. Confusing commands is legit really good because you can confuse enemies in your aura, which is wild. Confusion is a great effect. Sure, enemies might still run up and hit you because they're in your aura, or hit your friends. They might not hit enemies. That's fine. At high levels, it's not strikes that scare you. It's insane super moves, abilities. The monster powers are going to be wild at this tier of play. Confusing them it saves you from dealing, like, getting hit twice. Sure, fine. The whole party getting hit by a whirlwind of flying chains, or someone being banished to the shadow realm, well, that's a bigger problem, and you can delay that by confusing. But this requires the deceptive tactics feat, which all it does is let you feint with intelligence. That's like okay if you're a melee commander with a 2-handed weapon. It's really specific though. Really specific. And if you're an animal companion commander, you love hitting 16 because you can take Peerless Mascot Companion. It buffs your animal companion again. Enough said. Level 18, we get a fun pair of feats: Demand Surrender and Mercenary Reversal. Demand Surrender allows you, when you take out an enemy, if you outnumber the enemy, you can basically send them fleeing or force them to not take hostile actions at you. That's nice. But frankly, I think Mercenary Reversal is better. In my experience at high levels, fighting swarms of enemies is really tough because they're so powerful. Even if their numbers are a little lower, bunches of low-level enemies can be brutal. Whereas high-level enemies, you have so many tricks, you can kind of punk them. you can be pretty brutal to them. So Demand Surrender lets you beat down smaller groups. Mercenary Reversal is the opposite. This allows you, when you are outnumbered, go to an enemy, hit that Fire Emblem Together We Ride soundtrack, talk to them, and if you succeed, either stun them, or if they fail the will save, they swap sides and join you for the duration of the battle. To repeat, the enemy joins your group for the fight. Yeah, it's possible for them to rejoin, but like, dude, you can just dominate people by talking to them, and on a critical failure, they love you so much. If they survive the fight, they give you all of their stuff. It's legit a Fire Emblem recruitment. It's insane. I love it. It's just so much funnier than Demand Surrender. I come on, you got to take Mercenary Reversal. It's too funny. And at level 20, let's be honest, if you hit this tier, congratulations, you're the pinnacle of commander. You only get 2 options if you're not using an archetype. Now, Pennant of Victory, this is pretty nice. It's a once per battle thing. It's brandish, so not every build can use it, but hey, you give your team a +4 bonus to attack and damage, bonus speed, and temp HP. That's really good. +4 status to attack and damage. That's better than what a bard can do. That's kind of crazy. Sure, it's only once, a round for a fight, but that's all you need when you have a bonus that big. Combine that with, the guiding shot, targeting strike, fortunate blow, hit him with Pennant of Victory, command with Gather to Me to move your allies into position, just annihilate your enemy in one swing. Oh, if you have a Magus in the party, it's going to be beautiful with that spell strike, let me tell you. And your other option is Glorious Banner. This one enhances your banner. It now becomes a passive 60-foot emanation. That's nice. At high levels, ranges do tend to become big, but I'm not a fan of this for a simple reason. Much like Drilled Reflexes. If you hit level 20, that means you and your party have been playing for 19 levels. Or if you start at higher levels, maybe 9 levels or 5 levels. You've been playing for months at this point. you are all so used to fighting in a 30 or 40-foot radius, you don't need a 60-foot emanation. You have learned how to fight in a smaller bubble and work together. So getting a huge emanation size is nice, it's freeing, but it's not necessary at level 20, because to have survived this long, surely you have worked together and learned how to use the smaller radius. And for that reason, I'm like, it has a lot of passive benefits, but Oh, my voice. Why did I decide to record all of this in one go? It's too late now. We just go. All right, tactics. This is Commander at its core. This is why you play a Commander, for the tactics. And there's a lot of them. Now, remember, you can learn 5 tactics at level 1, and you can prepare 3 of them. So you have 3 tactics that are your main things, and 2 you might swap out of combat. In my experience, Commander's power is using your tactics to give your friends extra actions. Boost everyone up. You can effectively get 4 actions for the whole party a turn. That's wild, and is going to make victory pretty dang easy, frankly. But we got to be clever. How do we get extra mobility, which is your biggest strength, while still debuffing the enemy? As a result, there are some tactics like Strike Hard, which is just 2 actions, an ally gets to swing. That's fine. We have better tactics. Like, for 2 actions, we have stronger things. Similar, you have Pincer Attack, where everyone gets a step and it makes enemies off guard to melee attacks. This is nice, but you just have better tactics. So Strike Hard, Pincer Attack? Nah. Trash. We don't need them. Now, for good ones, though, we have Gather to Me. This is your gold standard. You're going to have this forever. Never get rid of it. It's always, always, always good. This lets everyone move. That's it. They can all stride. Now, note, it does say stride, but it specifies you can use burrowing, climbing, swimming. So any kind of moves type, they can do it. Everyone can move within your 30-foot aura. This is insanely good. It's great in the field. It's great when ambushed. It's great when approaching. It's great when retreating. The only time Gather to Me is not good is if you do a lot of tight dungeon fights where your tank sits in a doorway with a shield raised and just soaks hits while you throw things through the doorway at enemies. If that's what you're fighting every time, I mean, really? Okay. But Gather to Me won't be good. Otherwise, you take it. You take it, you take it, you take it. The other great options that you're going to want are Tactical Takedown. This is one of my personal favorites. Not Brandish. You can use this anywhere, and you can benefit. Remember, any tactic with the Brandish trait, you cannot be the target. Tactical Takedown, you can join your buddy as 2 people rush forward, and if you end up next to the same enemy, well, if you both end up next to the same enemy, they must succeed at a reflex save or fall prone. This is wildly good, right? Consider Strike Hard, 2 actions. You make 1 attack. That's okay. Tactical Takedown, you get multiple moves, and you get to move in to engage on the enemy, giving your ally the ability to end their turn or start their turn ready for the pain, and you can rush forward and then swing your greatsword at the enemy for some decent damage. And you knock them prone, which provides off guard, so it's better than Pincer Attack. Take Tactical Takedown. It's so good. The only time you don't take this is if you don't have other melee buddies. But otherwise, 10 out of 10. And then for our last skills, we have a few options. Protective Screen is great if you have other melees and casters. This allows you to move an ally towards one of your buddies. So ally Alpha can move toward ally Bravo, so that ally Bravo, the second one, no longer triggers reactions with ranged attacks and spells. In other words, when a monster jumps on your wizard, you have your frontliner run back towards the wizard to protect them, and now you can cast a spell or run away or do whatever you need and not get blown up by that trained soldier, that bad guy's reactive strike. Super, super good, but very team specific. And End It is another great third option for your tactic. Whenever you outnumber enemies and you've reduced an enemy's 0 HP, all of your boys can step forward, except for you. Reminder, this is Brandish, you do not count. And any hostile creatures in 10 feet of a buddy, of 10 feet of a party member, has to make a will save. And if they fail, they're fleeing for 1 round. That's really strong. If you find you often reduce the enemy down to 3 enemies, you can pop End It and get that fleeing. That's crazy. That's like a level 3 fear spell in terms of power. You know, they're not frightened unless they crit fails, but like, that's really good for a spammable move. It's not good against bosses, but that's fine. You have your other tactics. Just trip them. Trip them with tactical takedown instead. If you don't want End It, take shields up. If you have a team with a lot of shields, this one's super good, right? Remember, you can use the shield cantrip. Now the question is, can a druid use the glass shield cantrip? Well, talk to your game master. It's reasonable to allow it, but technically it has to be the shield cantrip specifically. But everyone gets to raise their shield. Just remember, if you use shields up, if you go for a shield build with the party, you want to end your turn. You want to delay your initiative so you go after the party moves and before the monsters attack. You want to time it so that your party still has their shields raised because they'll drop it at the start of their turn. Ah, my voice sounds a lot. You feeling fried yet? You want to take a break? Go get some water? All right, level 7. This is our expert tactics. There aren't very many options here, but it's okay. They're all bangers. They're all really good. First off, we have our mobility ones, Buckler, Cut, Blitz, and Stupefying Raid. These are Brandish skills. They don't work on you, so these are only mobility for your friends. But they allow 2 allies to move, and anyone who becomes adjacent, any enemies adjacent to them while they move, must make a save and become either clumsy or stupefied based on the one you picked. That's decent. This is good for parties who use a lot of saving throws. Caster heavy parties want the option to run away from the enemies while still giving them debuffs, and then they can start slamming the enemy with spells, and they'll love that, you know, their saving throws are a little bit worse. It's decent, but the real caster power, and here's the one I really recommend for anyone with casters, is Slip and Sizzle. This is wild. Note, it's not Brandish. You benefit. You can trip an enemy, but the first squad mate can attempt to trip an enemy as a reaction and only adjacent. Remember, commanders love adjacency. They hate people with reach. If you have reach, you do not synergize with commanders. They're all about getting in there for some reason. But you can trip an enemy, and if it's successful, a different ally can cast a 2-action spell that does damage. That's crazy. Even if they just cast a cantrip, the value here is wild. This is wild. This is the... Again, you've hit level 7. Congrats. You can give your caster Wiccan spell, the once a day level 10 feat, every round forever, while also tripping an enemy, debuffing them, wasting an action of theirs to stand up, and you use an action that would have built multiple attack penalty. This is good in like 3 different ways. It's so strong. And if you're a more combat heavy team, if you love punching the enemy and beating them down, we have Demoralizing Charge. This is Brandish. Doesn't work on you. You need at least 2 allies who love beating the enemy with big weapons. But 2 allies get to stride towards an enemy. That's a full length move. So let's rack it up, right? For your 2 actions, 2 buddies move. All right, 2 for 2. Then both of those buddies strike. 2 for 4. We're getting 4 allied actions for 2 of yours. That's wild. 2 moves, 2 strikes. If either of them hit, the enemy makes a will save or becomes frightened 1. Holy crap! If both strikes hit, they get a penalty to their save. And if there's any crits, they get even more of a penalty. And note, the strikes don't have to be on the same enemy. Holy crap, dude. That's like 5 or 6 actions worth of effect for 2 of your actions. Demoralizing charge rules. And last, we have Alley-Oop. This is a very specific one, but unbelievable. If you have an alchemist in the party, or if you use your intelligence to take the alchemist archetype, a great pick, you use Alley-Oop. It's wild. Alley-Oop for 1 action. 1 squad mate, which can be you, grabs a consumable, activates the consumable, and throws it to another squad mate in the 30 feet aura around you. The squad mate can catch the consumable and drink it. So you can grab a potion, throw it at your buddy, they can catch it and drink it, all for 1 action. That's so much value. Buff potions, auras, mutagens, defenses, all of them work here. It's so good. Even for the cheap part, if you want to not spend money, it's just a consumable. Take smoke sticks. Smoke sticks are practically free because they're like a level 1 item, and they create a conceal smoke bomb essentially that provides that 20% mischance. You can just throw smoke sticks at your buddies and they just smoke up. That's such a good defensive utility, and it's 1 action, right? That, not counting the power of real alchemical items. And if you have a gunslinger or anyone with reloading weapons, right, or just ranged characters in general, you can also throw alchemical and magical ammunition at them, and that ammunition gets to be activated until the end of their turn. Super good. They can even reload their weapon for free. There's a lot in this. Alley-Oop is crazy, dude, but very specific. You need the consumables. So I'm gonna be honest, take Alchemist Dedication if you want to use this. There's a lot of value in the level 7 commander tactics. The higher level ones are more powerful. These ones are so crazy good. You're gonna keep using these even when you have higher level options. They're just that good. For those of you who hit level 15 and can use master tactics, there aren't very many and they're all very specific. So you're gonna pick one that works for your team. For our shield teams who love spamming shields up, you're gonna want Mirrored Wall. This is a better shields up that also allows you to bounce light off of into an enemy's eyes and blind them. It's kind of silly, but the more people with shields, the better the chance of blinding your enemy. And that's really good. Most importantly, they don't become immune to the blind. Think your game master is annoyed at how good your tactics are. Imagine they throw a boss at you and every single round you go, yeah, make a fortitude save. Oh, you're blind? That's crazy. We're doing it next round too, buddy. Yeah. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for them and great for you. If you have a ranged heavy team, you take ready, aim, fire. So, all your ranged squad mates, including casters who can cast cantrips, get to reload and fire, make ranged strikes. That's great, right? It's good value, let you blow an enemy up. Melee heavy teams have been blowing the enemies up with demoralizing charge since level 7. Finally, it's your turn at level 15. Honestly, I think this could have been a level 7 skill. It feels about as good. The melee teams, however, never stop winning. If you have a full melee comp, if you have the brute squad with 3 melee allies, or athletics using allies, animal companions can use athletics well. Any kind of beefy caster like a war priest or a druid can take strength and athletics just fine and join in on the pop, drop, and luck. I love this name. You cannot join in on this. It is a brandish skill, so you need 3 buddies who are all surrounding the same melee enemy in their reach, and then all of them can attempt a trip, strike, or grapple. So you can just If none of these work for you, right? None of these work. All right, I guess we take Roaring Charge. It's just not as good as the others, but it's still good. All your squad mates, including yourself, can stride up to twice their speed at an enemy they're observing, and if anyone ends up within 10 feet of a squad mate, any enemy within 10 feet of the squad mate, not just the one they approached, by the way, they all got to make will saves and become frightened. That's pretty good. The debuff is appreciated. This is mostly an engagement tool. This lets you rush the party into combat very easily. You have so many powerful options as a commander that I'm like, it's okay. But yeah, if you can take the other ones at Master, I would take those. Otherwise, we go for this one. Oh, we're almost done. Don't worry. Stay strong. Hold the line. Funny enough, when you hit level 19, if you hit level 19 and you get the legendary tactics, they're really fun. They're really strong. Notably, they all have the once a day frequency. So you only get to use these once a day, and then out of combat, you're going to want to swap to the other one and use that. So while these are powerful, undeniably so, they are interesting in that you don't necessarily use them all the time. You're still going to rely on your lower level tactics, which is good because your team is probably built around using those tactics by the time you've hit a level like this, and they're very used to doing so. There's a lot of options. Insta Ballista is a hilarious ranged attack for the group, kind of with Looney Tunes, but hey, big range attack. Executioner's Volley is, the upgraded version of the firing squad if you have a bunch of ranged backliners. Sanguine Revitalization is a decent one if you can't use Brandish. If you have Plant Banner, you take this. This lets your party start swinging and get extra strikes while also healing. That's nice. If you can use Brandish, we take Valkyrie's Charge, letting your whole party rush in, restore a ton of HP. Downed allies can pick up weapons, though hopefully they're not down. But if they are, hey, they can pick it up, they can stride up to enemies, and they can make strikes. Again, Commander is all about turning a few of your actions into a ton of party actions. Valkyrie Charge is probably the best one, the strongest of all of the skills, in my opinion. And last, we do have Bloody Guillotine. If you can't use Brandish, if you just have an awkward party comp, you're going to use Bloody Guillotine and Sanguine Revitalization. Bloody Guillotine is pretty cool. You all stride up to an enemy and they can all make trips or strikes on it. If they kill the enemy, hey, everyone who witnesses it have to make a will save or become sickened. It's cute. Although it's kind of weird. It says sickened 1 for 1 round, but the sickened condition doesn't go away normally. So I don't know what's up with that. Either way, as you can imagine, surprisingly, the master and legendary tactics are not as key to your build. They're not as big of a deal as getting those expert tactics. Expert tactics are just wildly powerful. There you go. I try not to just read off every tactic. I try not to. But in this case, because you're a commander, because it's so vitally important to pick tactics according to your... I did take my hat off. I didn't even know I could do that. Oops. Yes. Wait, I picked the... Can't pick it up now. What did I... Anyways. All right, the hat's floating now. Deal with it. But because it's so important, right? As a commander, you got to be a little fluid. What's good in a commander build is entirely dependent on your party. It's dependent on your situation. If you run dungeons with tight corridors, you're going to want different moves than a mobility high campaign where you fight in fields and in streets, right? It's hard to say what's good, what's bad without knowing a specific team. If you get some commander experience though, let me know. Come leave a comment. I want to know. I want to hear your commander experiences. A lot of my experience is from the playtest commander, and I see the glow up, how much better your tactics get in the official release of Commander, and I'm like, this is a really good class. It was pretty good before, but it's like a ton of fun. You get those expert tactics, they are just wildly powerful. Commander, it's a great class. Its early game is pretty solid. Level 7, it really pops off. Beyond that, it's just generally good. As we can see, as I return to my magic hat. Melee commanders, you're really going to be picking between what you kind of want in terms of strategy, right? I recommend setup strike. If you want to hit level 10, level 12, you can retrain to it at that point for the insane guiding strike value. But it's generally more awkward if you're melee. So shield builds are really good for the medic. Otherwise, I'm going to be honest, melee commanders, your feats are not necessary. You can go hard into archetypes, and I would encourage going hard into archetypes. We aren't going to cover archetypes in this video. It's already too long. I don't even know if you reached this point. How did you? Well, that's incredible. But definitely take Rallying Banner, take Awakening Banner. If you hit 14, you're going to want to take advantage of those brandish feats. They're pretty powerful one-action ways to get some extra juice out of your turn. And yeah, take archetypes. They're really strong for Commander. If nothing else, if you don't know what to do, take Magus archetype, pick up the shield cantrip for your two-handed weapon. Now you can defend yourself, and then grab Spell Strike at level 4. Swing in big, you get one big shot a turn. Or, we take any of theirs. There's so many options. Ranged commanders are not lacking. Ranged commanders are much more feat reliant. They want to use Plant Banner, they want to use Guiding Shot, level 10 and 12, they want Targeting Strike and Fortunate Blow, so your Guiding Shot pops off. They're a lot more feat heavy than a melee commander. Less good for archetypes, but a lot stronger in terms of team synergies. Whichever you want, and let me know if it works out for you, huh? And, this video did take a little while to make. I'm not gonna lie, my computer may have exploded and I may have to reformat everything. So hopefully the next will come out a little faster, but thank you for being patient. And as always, thank you for dropping by. This is Practical Pathfinder. I hope this has proven useful, and I hope you have fun in your game. Remember, it's not just about having the strongest options. It's not about hitting the biggest number. You are playing a story game with your buds. So, go out there, make some amazing stories, and come back and tell me if it was a good time. What skills, what feats really stood out to you? What tactics were amazing in practice? I want to hear it. I want to know. I always enjoy it. So thank you for dropping by. If you want, you can like and subscribe the video. You'll catch more of it. And if not, I'll cry a little, but next time. This is Lord Generic at Practical Pathfinder.